mua ona whaatalo whātu leo mai moanga mai Samoa i le nei vaenga o le afiafi. Ia o le soonga fo i le nei o le tātou Paul Kalame o le Samoa Fa'Asoa e pei ona awina atu le TV valu o le tātou universite. E whaafeilo e atua ili pa ia ma le mamalu o le atunu o lo whaapena ona mai moa mai lava i o nao se ia pa ia o na iu. Ia e nei fo ia fiafi e whaatalo whātua i fo i le fio mai fo i o le tātou mālo whaalolungia o whaapena ona awai mai le fionga i le ali soa profesa ia mai le Universite o Kilani whaapena ona tātou mafuta i le nei fiafi ia wā le whaupoponga o le tātou Paul Kalame. I am happy to warm welcome Associate Professor Ethan Cottrain from the University of Auckland. He is here with us this evening to share his knowledge and also talk more about the collaboration between the University of Auckland and the National University of Samoa under the Archaeology and Cultural Heritage Program housed under the Center for Samoan Studies. Welcome, Professor Ethan.
Talofa. Thank you. Thank you, Ta'yao. And I'm very happy to be here, and I first want to begin by thanking the National University of Samoa, the Center for Samoan Studies, the Vice Chancellor, the Deputy Vice Chancellors, Ta'yao, you and your staff, and for welcoming me here and having us do really great work together, work that cannot be done as well without the help and care and collaboration of Samoan communities, all the villages we work in. So very happy to be here.
Ia na mai moanga mai Samoa nei vaenga le fiafi o le tātou mālo whaalolungia lea le tātou Paul Kalame o le Samoa Fa'Asoa pe ona silafia o le fionga fo i le li professor mai le Universite o Kilani ua lewa ona ngā lulue so tau au ma le tātou laumua o susu enga o mta upu tau Samoa pe ona silafia o le mta upu lea o tala eli ma nganu utu whaasolo po le archaeology and cultural heritage sa amata mea i lalo le laumua o susu enga o mta upu tau Samoa mai le tausanga e tasi lua afe ma le valu o leo o whaaua wina pea le nei vaenga tāua fo i o se mata upua o wina i to tonu o le tātou universite i lalo le laumua o susu enga mta upu tau Samoa. Professor Ethan, can you talk about the historical background of the working collaboration between the Center for Samoan Studies at the National University of Samoa and the University of Auckland?
Yeah, certainly, absolutely. It has been nothing but a pleasure and an easy task to come to Samoa and do archaeological work here, helping to uncover the archaeological history of the Samoan people. And we began almost 12 years ago in 2012, a joint venture between the Center for Samoan Studies and the National University of Samoa and my university, the University of Auckland. We began in Aliapata on the east coast of Upolu. The idea was to examine early villages, to see if they were new from a long time ago, to see if they were in the same place as they are now. And so we discussed with the village, the various villages along the Aliapata coastline. They agreed to host us and support our work, and we, through excavations, digging in the ground, digging in the palapala, we were able to find ancient Samoan habitation, houses. We found umu. We found changes in the coastline. And we dated some of those early Samoan villages in that part of Upolu to about 600 years ago, I think. And from there, from Aliapata, we learned about the Samoan lifestyles there. And then we moved on to other places as well.
Ia o le amata mea o le nei ngaluenga so tau au e pei ona ma ngā lulu e whaatasi ai ma le awhionga le li professor mai le tausanga e lua awhi sfulua amata mea mai i le itu māloa le pata e pei ona whaatautaia ai le elinga po le excavation mai i le awhioanga o sale au mua se ia pa ia le awhioanga o ulutongia ma vai loa i le tausanga i lua fesfululua dea na sauno leu sauno ai le afionga i le li professor ia ana maua ai ia vaenga o to imaa o vaenga fo i o ipu sa whaonga i ngā luenga whaatino, me se fo i o whaatinonga o mea sa whaonga i awatau mawha Samoa i sona mua o atingi whingota e whapena fo itu ai ngā palapala ese mtu ai ngā umu ese. Nā mai ale su e ngai ale pata o na I Satitoa ma ulutongia sa whaatino ai le elinga po le excavation. O na whapena lea o na ngai mai I ti aveatai. Mai ati aveatai o na ngai mai le I whangaloa whaatino ai le elinga I Samamea, la whioanga Samamea. Se o ina ngai mai ina ua whaatino le suenga fo I le whioanga Whalewao, Whalewha, Salua Whata pe ona iei nei. Pe o lo amata mea mai le suenga le nei e whaatauteia le lau mua suenga mtau Samoa. Ia ma le University o Kilani. Lea ua taunuu mai le whioanga I Salua Whata. Pe o le nei la mai aso whapenao na awai mai ai le whioanga le professor. If you want to for inisi la asanga o iai le suenga lea. Professor Ethan, can you talk about our move from Alipata district and our excavation in Satitoa and Ulutongia village. So after that, then we moved to Tiavetai and also from Tiavetai to Whalewao, Whalewha and Salua Whata. So can you share your knowledge and experience about what analysis of the materials that we found from this excavation?
Absolutely. So after working in Alipata, we then moved to Tiavetai, again along the coastline where we suspect there were old villages, but now people were not living there as much. So we excavated pits in Tiavetai on the beach, and we found old Samoan houses, old Samoan activities. We found stone tools, koimaa. We found fire pits. We found the floors of Faleolo, so we found ili. And we were able to date all of those activities by taking malala, by taking charcoal, and we send that to the laboratory, and that comes back with an age for how old these activities, when they took place. And in the Tiavetai excavations, we learned that people were living there as long as 1,000 years ago. Probably earlier as well, but we need to do more work to figure that out. So we know people were making stone tools, they were eating seafood, they probably had pigs and chickens, they were building faleolo with stone floors. The stone tools they had, we can take those stone tools and we can take them to the laboratory and we can see where the stone tools come from. So we know this ma'a, this piece of stone, comes from a mountain on the other side, let's say. But now the stone tool, we found it in Tiavetai. So we know 1,000 years ago that people were moving the ma'a, they were moving the ko'i ma'a around Upolu, and even from Sivai to Upolu, or from Tutuila to Upolu. So moving the stone tools around 1,000 or more years ago. Samoans were in the different nu'u, engaging and talking and moving around. From Tiavetai, we then went to Whangaloa to do more excavations.
Ia, mo le whaafonga mai sa moa pe ona saunoa le li profesa I le nei ngā luenga sa amata mea mai I Alipata. Ia o le so atu ai ma Tiavetai ma Whangaloa pe ona mai moa mai le atunuu o le matua o to'imaa, o palapala, o le umu, o malala, ia me se fo'i o atingi whingota sa whapenau na maua I le elinga po o le mata upu le tautala eli manganu utu whasulu. Archaeology and cultural heritage o lena mau ai me nei. Taruai ona I le ainia tātou masini whaapitoa o tātou university e mawhai ona whai ilo ilonga. Po o le analysis of all these materials, that why we asked our colleague from overseas university e ngānu rue mo le whaatinoina o le ilo ilonga o analysis. O lea la na maua mai eili li poti pe ona saunoa le I professor o le matua o mea sina ia sa maua mai le linga lea. E fitu se lau tau sanga taluai, 5 se lau tau sanga taluai, 1 se lau tau sanga taluai le matua o ia mea sina sa maua I hia fo'i ia iloilonga o tūlanga whapena. I le maitau mai pe ona whaafonga mai o lea sa whaatino ai le elinga I uta I Salua Whata, whapena fo'i tua maota o Whalewha, Whalewao. siringia fo ila le fionga le professor ona ole elinga le sa fa ia le pata mafangaloa o le sa fa tino ila talata I no foanga tu mta fanga se fa so mai so na si le fia po wa vaenga tu sai o wa vaenga ese ai ia fa tinonga o ia elinga I vaenga I lu le tu le tu yuta I manga po le inland excavation fa penga fo ile I tu tal fa tai po le coastal excavation. Ethan, can you share your knowledge and experience and ideas about the contrasting and comparison of the inland excavation and also the coastal excavation as we did in Alipata and Tiaviatai and Whangaloa, comparing to the inland excavation in Falevao and Salwafata?
Yes. And so our work continued in these villages in Falefa, Salwafata, Falevao. In the inland excavations, we were examining the kind of origins of the plantations, the Pama'a, the Faleitele, the Faleolo. And so in those places inland, we would excavate the Pama'a, excavate the Faleolo, the Pai, and again, looking for charcoal, malala, to determine the dates of these things, when they were first made. And very interestingly, we found in Falefa, Salufata, and Falevao that some of the earliest Pama'a, very, very large walls, not the kind of walls you make, not Papua, but big tele, big walls. They were first built around 1,000 years ago. And after those walls were built, those Pama'a, big ones, and they stretch across the entire valley from Falevao to Falefa, through Lufi to Palepuna to Salufata. Those massive rock walls, they may have been earlier boundaries between villages that are not the same as today. After those big rock walls were made, then the smaller walls for the plantations were made. And so we think this is the kind of maybe the beginnings of some of the chiefly system in Atua district and other places as well.
Ia, le nā le mai mua mai fo'i pe ona tala le fionga I le li professor I le tūlanga wa iei fo'i ia le sa ililinga o loo whaatino nei. Se e atu le vaenga pe ona fisilingi ai fo'i ia le li professor le amatanga I le ia I la tau fo'i na amata mea I le nei mata upu fo'i wa o ina I te tonu le University o Samoa. I lano le lau mua o suusenga mata upu tau Samoa. I le mata upu tau tala eli manga nu utu whasolu. Whaatoa a mata o na whaatino ia suenga I te siva lima sifulu. Pe ona whaatino ai le li o Jack Carlson. Whaasolo solo mai ai I ngaluenga fo'i a isi o le awhapenao na talatala I le li professor. Ia mo le silvia fo'i ma le manu lau tele o le atulu. Professor Ethan, can you talk about the history of archaeologists doing the archaeological studies in Samoa started from Jack Carlson in 1950s until now. Can you tell the audience about the history of archaeology just in Samoa?
As you mentioned, the first archaeologist to work in Samoa was a man named Jack Golson, and he was from the UK, from Cambridge, and he first came to New Zealand and started the first archaeological departments in New Zealand as well. Quickly after that, he came to places throughout the Pacific, including Samoa, and he did some of the very first archaeological excavations here in Samoa, in Tiavetai, I think, in the late 1950s. Soon after that, Jack Golson brought an American to New Zealand, a man named Roger Green, a very famous professor of archaeology, and he came to Samoa in the 1960s to do more and more archaeology. And he worked across Upolu, doing excavations, doing surveys to find the ancient sites, and he worked a little bit on Sava'i as well. After Roger Green, in the 1960s and 1970s, other Americans came. Jesse Jennings came, and he did work in, like I said, the 1970s across Upolu and some on Sava'i. He also returned in the 1980s to do more archaeological work. Much of this work based from the universities in America, but in New Zealand. After Jesse Jennings, we had work in Samoa archaeological work slowed down. But in the 90s, we had Professor Helene Martinson-Wallen from Sweden. She came to do some work. And then in the 2000s, it was collaborations between my university, the University of Auckland, and the National University of Samoa, the Center for Samoan Studies. And we, I'm proud to say, we really kind of kick-started the recent kind of modern archaeological work in the last decade here. We've been able to do a lot of great things with the support of the people of Samoa and the National University, and really the intensity and the speed of archaeological work has increased. We've just doing more and more and more, built on that foundation of the pioneers.
Yeah, so no fo'i le fionga ia Professor Ethan e tala fo'i ia ila tau fo'i sa amata mea i le o ina ma le su e ina o le mata upu tau akiolo ia po le mata upu tau tala eli tonu o atu atunu pe ona amata mea ai le fionga ia Professor Jack Carlson ma le tasiva li masfulu so o mai ai ma Roger Green, ia ma le tamaitai o Janet Davidson, so o mai ai fo'i ma Jesse Jennings, ia whaasolo mai ai ina ua taunu mai, ia le fionga le tamaitai Professor ia Helene Martinson Wolin mai le University o Uppsala i tonu Sweden, so o mai ai ma le ali o Christoph Sand mai le Institute of Archaeology New Caledonia, ia so o mai ai loa ma le fionga ia Professor Ethan Cochrane mai le University o Gilani, ia o le fo'i wa tātou ngā lulue so tau au ma le whionga ia Christian Rep Mayer mai le Institute of Archaeology Germany. Ia whapea fo'i ma le ali o Christoph Skrudner from mai o le Unitec in New Zealand. No whapea nā la on tātou ngā lulue fo'i so tau au. Mo le atina e ina fo'i o lea mata upu oloa o ina i lalo le lau mua so enga mata upu tau Samoa. Pei lama fo'i o tala atu le isi tātou Paul Kalame. O lalo le lau mua o mta upu tau Samoa. Awana i whaasese ina lea tunu u whaapea a tala noa loa i le Samoan Studies. O na whaapea loa lea e nā o le ngangana ma le anganu. Pei o na o tala noa mua muatu. E tolu mata upu te tele o lo whaapea naona o ina i lalo o le lau mua su enga mta upu tau Samoa. O le ngangana ma le anganu. O mata upu tau tala eli ma nganu utu whaasolo. Ma le mata upu tau ati na e o Samoa. There are 3 teaching programs housed under the Center for Samoan Studies. The Samoan Language and Culture, the Archaeology and Cultural Heritage, and Development Studies. O lalo fo'i le lau mua su engam tau Samoa, lo whape nā ona iei le tātou tusi, or the Journal of Samoan Studies, e lo mia ai ia suenga ia ma iloilonga fo'i ma o se tusi o lo whapena ona tā mauai suenga a ia tangata sue le ngata o le university, le ngata o Samoa nei, e whape fo'i ma atunu i whafo. Under the Center for Samoan Studies, we house the Journal of Samoan Studies. It is a multidiscipline journal that we publish articles, book reviews, reports, you know, from not only our local scholars, and also we publish the research and publications from other scholars from other universities in the world. So le vaenga le na ta ua mo le whaafonga mai le tunu ale ngata fo le na o lea wa ilalo le lau mua su ngata ta upu tau Samoa ia le fale mataanga. For the Research Museum at the University. So we also house under the Center for Samoan Studies, the National University of Samoa Research Museum, officially opened last year in September. Ole o ngā luenga la nā whapea, na whaatinoina i lalo le tātou lau mua. Ai mai se o le tātou ngā luenga so tau au ia ma universite mai whafo. Pe o nei e fo i le nei ma tā upu. Ia, o le taimi nei o le atu nātu le awa noa i le sunga ia Ethan. Po le hafo i sana sila e tūlanga le atau le mata upo le akiolo i te tonu o le tātou university. E mese o ngai Samoa. Ethan, can you share your knowledge because you teach archaeology in your university? The problem we face here in the Center for Samoan Studies is the human resource. So we do not have many local archaeologists that teach archaeology in our university. So what is your advice and your point of view about the development of archaeology in our university?
I think all of us, Samoans and everyone else, should understand the kind of the importance of history. The history of our peoples, wherever you are from, really grounds you. And I know that in Samoa, the history is one recorded in oral tradition and genealogies, and that is of utmost importance. But I think archaeology and cultural heritage can contribute to that. It can add to the history that Samoans know through their own traditions. And so I think it's important for Samoans and the National University to support young people and students getting training in archaeology and cultural heritage, so they, the Samoan people, can be the ones who do the archaeology, that then supports the other forms of traditional Samoan knowledge. So I am always so happy and amazed that our work is so well received by local people in Samoa, because it contributes to what they already know. When I work in the villages, the Samoans that I work with, they know all about, of course, their whanua, their land, their history, the stories of different places, and the kinds of things that our work, in conjunction with the Center for Samoan Studies, the kind of things that we can do. We can talk about how old things are in terms of dates like before and after Christ, or we can look at the environment and reconstruct ancient environments, what places were like 1,000 years ago in terms of the rivers and the streams and the trees. And all of that just really paints a bigger, more diverse and complex picture of Samoan history. And really, it needs to continue doing this kind of work. As I said, it keeps intensifying and getting more and more. We need more Samoan students to carry on that kind of work. And so really the work of the Center for Samoan Studies and the National University is important. And I see it in my own university as well, trying to train students to do the same kind of work in Aotearoa, New Zealand. We have the same issues there. Of course, many students and many families and parents want their children to perhaps become doctors and lawyers and things like that. But we also need people to study history. And so I think it's important for all Samoans and people around the world to remember that history needs training as well, and it needs people to support and investigate that.
So thank you very much, Ethan, for sharing your point of view about teaching archaeology in university. But I think that archaeology as a discipline should be taught in college, because under the Samoan education system, archaeology is attached under the curriculum, history and geography curriculum. But my point of view, I really want to separate the teaching of archaeology in high school, separate from the curriculum of history and geography. What about schools in New Zealand?
The same problem in New Zealand as well. In New Zealand, in college and high school, there are no archaeology courses at all. So young people in New Zealand, when they come to university, they may have never heard of archaeology at all. And they know nothing of the ancient history of Aotearoa, New Zealand. They know when the Europeans first arrived, but they do not know about the 600 years of Maori history that precedes that. And so I think maybe the same thing in Samoa. Samoa college students, they may learn a little bit of archaeology, and then they learn about the history of Germany and New Zealand and Europe, but they could learn so much more about the history of the 2,700 years that Samoans have lived on these islands before any Europeans arrived. So that would be a great thing if more students at college level could learn about that.
Whaafitai, thank you, Ethan. Whaafitai mo lea vaenga tau o peo ni whaafonga mai, mana ia fo i o leo whai an whanongo mai fōi al tātou mtanga luenga wa onga. Ai te nane le vaenga fōi leo onga, o tatau lava o na maoti lava lea o ino lea mata upu. O na o lea ua iai le tātou mata upu au tū, po o le tātou major i le archaeology and cultural heritage i lalo le lau mua o susu enga mta upu tau Samoa, pe o na saunua fōi le fionga le li professor. O lo whape na o na tutusa le leile tūlanga ua iai le o ino le ne mta upu. I te tono New Zealand whape na fōi Samoa nei, e le o mawhai o na tu ese to lo fa pena ona pipi ile o ngol ta upule nei o tau tala eli manganu tu fa solo i lalo o le ta yala o le curriculum o le fo nei o le ta upule o tal fa sol pito po le history ia malvaenga le o le geography maisi ta upu ai pe o le nganga ina ia mafai ona o ese le mata upule nei e pe ona fa pena ona o ese mai tono university my concern is the separate of teaching archaeology, separate from the history and geography curriculum. But now, under the Center for Samoan Studies, we have a major in archaeology and cultural heritage. E tāua ai ne nā vaenga tāua ia whaamalausi au ina i pēr le tūlanga lea o le lea mata upu mari fia fo i o le whanau. Wala le tau aveina o lea mata upu. Ethan, now you share with me this afternoon that there's an increased number of students interested in taking archaeology as their major in academic. So can you share your experience and also tell us about the community engagement when we conducted our survey in the community, and also this is also a great opportunity for us to acknowledge the community involvement and the community support, not only the support for the students and also the support for the nature of this work.
Absolutely, yes. The villages we work in, we work closely with the Matai and the people of the village to form a program. And as part of that program, the people in the villages where we work, they learn much about their village from the archaeological perspective by being with us in the field, by helping me and my colleagues do the work of excavation. They also learn the archaeological knowledge we're able to generate by us coming back to the village and giving back and presenting our information, the information that we all created together, back to the Fono, back to the Matai, back to the people of the village. CSS helps with that. We engage with the village through presentations where many staff from CSS come. As well, we have students from CSS. Students take classes in the Center for Samoan Studies, and as a part of those classes, they get training in archaeological excavation techniques. So they come out with us in the field, they come out with us in the villages, they learn how to dig the holes in the ground and find the malala and find the koima'a and learn about those artifacts, take them back to the laboratory and study them. So the students from the National University of Samoa, they get this training in support from the villages, in support from the Center for Samoan Studies. The people in the villages, from little kids up to the oldest paramount chiefs, they also are engaged and learn with us. And again, I want to say that none of this new knowledge we're creating contradicts or undermines the traditional Samoan knowledge. It augments it. It makes it, maybe it makes it more complete, more full. It helps us understand things better. It kind of adds to, as I said, this traditional knowledge, which everyone I work with in Samoa holds this traditional knowledge. So we're out in the field, we're out in the bush, we are surveying, excavating, and the people I work with can tell me what this old Fale foundation, this Fale Olo, this is its name. There's a story behind it, of course, or these big alvae, they were constructed during this war with this village. So all of those things are already known, and I think the communities very much support our being there and our kind of adding to what is known. And none of this is always only done with the full support and the care and consideration of the villages we work in.
Ia o le nā ua manino fo'i le anganga fia ma le whaangai e tia o le whiunga li professor whaafitai ai fo'i i le lango mai le atunu ia e mese fo'i o awhio anga whapena o na whaatino ai ia suenga fo'i a le tātou universite suenga e le o whaitawina ni suenga whape mawaini manuia tautupe matulanga whapena ai mo le manuia o alo ma whanau a le atunu o lo whapena na o wina e peona o whaiatu mo whapena na si itia le nau ta inga ma le fia o alom whanau wale atunu. E sa ili masu e fo i lea vaenga o le olanga o wina. Le mata upu le tau tala eli manga nu utu whasolo i le tūlanga o iai lo lātou wanga waa ma le sila fia e peo na ngā lulue whaatasi ai ma le tātou atunu. E toi mori atu ai le ngā whaafetai i le atunu i la o tau lango sua. E le ngata o sau wha inga matai whapena foi malosi o nuu mawhio anga o au manga whapenau na lango malosi i tātou ngā luenga o ngā luenga whaatino le tātou lau mua so engam tātou Samoa whapenau na ngā lue so tau au e mai universite mai whafo peo na whai atu salo le alvaenga muli o le Pol Kalame wala malama whai u fo i le Pol Kalame o Samoa Fa'Asoa nei mai aso ai peo atu ngalunga le nā o le atu ngalunga fo i o lo whea ngai ma nei o lo taita ia le lau mua so engam tātou Samoa o le tūlanga nei i le uti ma le ai ma le langa o ni a tātou whai aonga i le nei fo i mata upu a wale o ina mo alom whanau le atunu o lo whaalango tele i le lango mai e nei whaia o ngai mai universite whafu i le ngata o lo o iai le maulunga to mai whaapitoa o lo o iai ai whaapena fo i le maulunga o tūlanga o lo o iai ala tau mea whainga luenga e mai se whi o la tau masini o lo whaapena na whaatino ai ia o onga o wale nei mata upo tala eli manga nu tu whasolo po le archaeology and cultural heritage. So Professor Ethan, now we are coming at the conclusion of our Samoa Fa'Asoa program this week. But one more thing, I want you to share your point of view about the development of archaeology in Samoa, especially our university. I face a problem of not many local archaeologists that hire to develop the program in our university, but I request our Vice Chancellor and also the education sector to have more scholarship, local scholarship offered for the students going overseas to study archaeology with the hope to come back and teach archaeology and develop more archaeology lectures to develop this program under the Center for Samoan Studies in our university. What is your thought?
I think that, yes, that's a much needed set of training for young Samoans, and I think the Center for Samoan Studies is doing much that it can through its international collaborations. That's one way to enhance teaching and gain more interest from students and also potentially gain more scholarship opportunities. And I know the Center for Samoan Studies has excellent collaborative relationships with my university, the University of Auckland, as well as the University of Otago, as well as the University of Hawaii, as well as the University of Canterbury, and there are many, many others. But what's required is for those universities to bluntly step up and offer training and more scholarships to Samoan students. I know that the University of Auckland has recently established an MOU with the National University of Samoa. Hopefully, good things will come from that in terms of, say, staff movement back and forth for teaching, so Samoan Studies staff could come to teach at Auckland and Auckland staff could come teach here. For students to have maybe fees free or scholarships to come from here to go to to go to New Zealand. I would really love to see more Samoan students come to do work at the University of Auckland, maybe a semester or two, or maybe a postgraduate qualification. And that requires, commitments from our universities. So I want to do all I can to push my university to financially support that, because that's what it comes down to.
Mahalofa Ethan, thank you very much, Professor Ethan, for your support from the University of Auckland. I also acknowledge the support from Professor Helene Martinsson-Wåhlin from Uppsala University in Sweden. She will be here in April.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I acknowledge the support from the Institute of Archaeology in Germany, Dr. Christian Rep Mayor, and also acknowledge Christoph Sand from Institute of Archaeology in New Caledonia, and also Christoph Spruner from Unitec in New Zealand, and also acknowledge Professor from the University of Otago, and also the University of Hawaii, their support, and also Jeffrey Clark. Thank you for your support, and also providing equipment and resource materials for the development of archaeology and cultural heritage here in the National University of Samoa. Whawhitai le lango mai I lātou fo I o tā ua lātou suafa. Ia whapena fo I le Tele Universite o le maua, le lātou lango mai, e ala I le awina mai fo I o Soani. Ia mo le atina e ina o le fo I mata upu I lalo le mua so suenga mata upu tau Samoa, I to tonu o le Universite o Samoa. Ia le nā Samoa lau whaafonga mai I le whaapoponga fōi o le tātou pōrkalame o le Samoa Fa'Asoa le nei vai aso. Wā le talutalatu mo le mai mo mai ma le whaalongolongo mai fōi alo ma whanau le atunu o lo mawhai o na maua mai le nei au nanga. Ia ma le nei fōi pōrkalame. E toe whaafitai atu ai I lau langolong sua, whaafitai atu fōi le langolong sua. A le tamaitai Pulisilo le Universite o Samoa le whionga ia tuifuisaa. Professor Tuifuisa Patila a Mosa Malua, le fionga le sui Pusili, le fionga ia peseta su ataktam peseta Desmond Lihang. Ia whapea whaululungu umalama vaenga umole universite, le use el tatu waa le vaina solon tolu nei o onga. Ia whapena foi ona solonga lelei tamu whainga tatu universite. I would like to acknowledge Professor Ethan Cochrane for his great time here in Center for Samoan Studies for future collaboration and also a next plan of our working collaboration and also our community engagement and the research with the village of Whalefa, Whalevau and Saluafata. I wish you all the best on your return to New Zealand, Ethan.
Thank you. Whaptai te lava, taiao, and whaptai to the villages we work in. There have been many villages, so I cannot name them all, but again, my deepest, most humblest thanks to the people of Samoa and the National University. Whaptai.
Ia, o le nā le tātou pōrkalame, tūri tau mai whaasolonga pēo le tātou pōrkalame, ia sfarai le taitasi. Ia, o le nei vaenga o le aso, whaasoifua ia.
Yep.